with all of you. This is the 7th annual Catch and Release Party for the Dead River Review. I have some wonderful submissions this semester, and I can't wait to share them with you. We've curated some of the best that I've seen, and I'm just happy to be here in person. The last two were virtual, which is just not the same, not sharing the physical space. I hope you have a good time. Oh, would you like to come say something? Oh, okay.
Welcome. Get right to the point. Hi, my name is Matthew Olson. I'm the Dean of Liberal Arts here at the college. And I remember very vividly when some of the faculty on the English department said we need to bring the Creative Writing magazine back. And we want to bring it back as a digital publication. And we're going to include pictures and we're going to make it accessible to everybody. And it's not just going to be this print thing that sits by the elevators. And I have to say, Katie has really taken the lead. Really, she's got some great people behind her, but I would give her a round of applause. We put together a creative writing magazine that any college could be proud of. It is a highlight of many of the administrators to be able to look through this thing. So we're really excited for this. Also, there is no party like a Dead River Review release party. You guys, the first one had a rock band in it. I'm a little disappointed. If we don't get complaints from the library, I'll be a little disappointed. We'll see how it goes. So anyway, have a great day. Celebrate this. I'm looking forward to hearing some of you read. So that's going to be great. So welcome.
Some people, including Tom Laughlin. Sorry, but he's always helping me out with these sorts of events, and I really appreciate his help over the years. And I'd like to thank the Creative Writing Department, and I would like to thank the writers and my great team of editors this semester. Fabulous job. I'm so happy to have been able to work with such a competent, excited, hardworking group, and I really appreciate you. Thank you very much. And today I'm excited to have a few of my past editors come and read for us as well, and so that's really special to me because especially the last group I wasn't able to even meet in person, so today's the first day we've actually met in person, so you know, it's fun. It's fun. So without further ado, let's get started. Should be aware that the event is being recorded. So the first presenter we have is Lexi Balabir with some poetry.
Hi everybody. I would like to first off thank everybody who was in the poetry reading that we just had from the Mad Queens Club. I'm extremely humbled that my poetry can make an impact on people. And I would also like to thank everybody who is part of this Dead River Review for giving students a creative outlet to share to the masses. I have 3 poems. This first one is called Anacopaji, which is a medical term for the habit of nail biting. Stripping the foundation of thinning brittle walls. Like a willow in decay, my razor-aged nail beds have been torn by my turmoil. I peel fragile pieces of myself, bit by bit, nail by nail, to feed starving mental monsters who grumble when I am confronted, who feed off my minuscule mistakes. I bite the jagged gray edges to forget today's awkward moment, to reset the trickling, ticking time bomb until the next altercation detonates. Hands jittering, teeth chattering. I bite to forget the manic voices wailing me to drown in their sound. Like glass bottles the past washes up on shore, only to be thrown back and float forevermore. I flinch, I pick, but when I bite, the world stops for a solid second. But in the tidal wave hurricane, endless wreckage of my sleepless mind, a bite is a 1,000,000-second silence. I'm at peace until the next wave comes. Thank you. The second poem is an acrostic dedicated to one of Claude Monet's famous Impressionist paintings. It's called On Water Lily Pond. There stands the wooden gateway bridge, engraved with reflective signatures from profound yellow rays of the springtime sun. And below his oakwood path, gentle strokes of forest green hues blanket the subtle billows of this pond. Lily pads bloom with fuchsia florals. Leafy trees stand like divine antiques, for when we marvel, they are ageless. Streams of chartreuse dance to a symphony across wanderlust-winding eyes, stricken by apricot-drawn light. Only thin, angled brushes from an intricate painter can conjure a panoramic paradise. From the rigid right borders of a once lifeless canvas on thick cloud-dreary days, I revisit the creaky footbridge on Water Lily Pond. And as my wandering eyes descend, so do the rippling droplets of blue reflections that remind me once again we can dwell forever in April's beauty through Monet's lily pads. Finally, this poem's called Head First, Insomnia. Head first, like an avalanche of rocks, spiky, thorny, abysmal, as my mind attempts to sleep. Backslash, the fiery ash pit, disintegration proclamation, when I eternally lie awake. Full thrust, the adrenaline rush, the anguish, the pain, the proximity cycle. Such natural disasters these thoughts come to be, or all just stigmas within my head. Thank you.
Thank you so much, that was wonderful. Next we have Court LaCasa.
Alright, I'll be reading two of my poems. So, first one is social anxiety. God forbid I take the wrong plate, and I have to justify the space I've filled, the air I've breathed, and all the time that I have spent. If I'm to assume the words being spoken are directed at me, and if I'm wrong, I cannot go along, for existence becomes not more than pain. I'm sorry, please, I was just confused. I didn't know what I had to do. The self-imposed rules, the thought of hurt, all become reasons to not speak and avert. And I got possible futures. When I find myself often wondering, I'm stopped by the thought of something new. I choose to walk in solidarity over the chance that it goes askew. That does not stop me from wanting. In fact, I want all the same. But the choice is ever so daunting, to choose by whom I'll be made.
Thank you. That's great. So next we have Robert Costagna.
Thank you. So the first two poems I'm going to read are poems I wrote. The idea started to write them at the Bedford campus. Professor Laughlin would sometimes have us just take a walk and then we'd write. So this one is called Two Poets. It's a prose poem. I stood in front of a winterberry tree alongside you. The red berries hung fake like plastic, with their ruddy stems, thousands of them like Christmas tree decorations. There were no leaves, just bare branches, some of which were sawed off and gone. The light was bright and the air winter cold, providing that stark translucence to the molecules that enable sharp sky blues to suffocate the earth. Within each molecule, there were more spaces, and that space was filled with the cold, hard facts of winter too. And then more spaces, smaller still, ad infinitum. I turned to you standing there, looking at the tree with your imaginative sorrow, two poets searching the same thing, but seeing it different. Thank you very much. There's also, this one was, there's a bird bath that is in memory of Lori. That's on the campus. So this is called In Memory of Lori. In memory of Lori, this bird bath lies frozen in the blizzard. Her last name covered by the snow, the water frozen in the cold, the birds gone to warmer weather. In memory of Lori, this bike rack sits empty, a lonely sculpture against the white woolly season, not allowing for excursions, it stands alone calling. In memory of Lori, this bench awaits more conversations, the two of you gabbing while students are walking, sharing your secrets with a waxwing and song sparrow. In memory of Lori, this bird bath lies buried under snow, her physical presence no longer something to hold. Like the birds, she is gone, and only memory returns. And I'll read one more. This one is about a memory of, it's pretty obvious, but it's one of those memories where you hit a game-winning home run in the minor leagues, but of course there was like 20 errors that caused you to hit that, but I still considered it a home run. Fading star. I walked the baseball field, the chain link backstop, ascension guard, the only watchman against forgetfulness. An all-star in the minor league, I was 10, hitting a grand slam to win the game, running out the errors of the opposing team. The cheers of the fans how alive as the grass and the trees stood bright on that singular summer scene. In the local paper, a tiny paragraph on the back page, typed out in inky letters, rubbed off on my fingers, recording the moment that faded over time with its yellowing surface decomposing. Thank you.
And now we have, thank you so much. That's lovely. Now we have Kenneth Brown. Is Kenneth Brown here? I don't think so. I didn't see him. So we're going to skip ahead, and I am looking for Gwen Morris.
Okay. My first poem is called Ouroboros. They are home to me, and always will be. Old cherry vanilla candle flames lick up my palm and rake warm scores down my cheeks. The tears flow all the sweeter through their brandings, like scrapbooks of our summers in Salisbury. A timeless tale, friends to lovers to just friends. Coming home to sweet embraces, an act of love, sure, but within romance's ocean, they have become a sunken cost. Each time, their smiles and rapture enshroud my shame with that easy August glow. And although I've fallen for never can be, swallowing hurt and pride is simpler, the longer and coil onward. It aches to shove my devotion back, bows the knees, grinds marrow, and roots me to this double-edged blade of wishing for them both. Swallowing grief in mind is simpler, the longer I coil onwards. And although I've fallen for never can be, I have to wonder, could they know these emotions tarry here? Or am I less than a passing siren, ricocheting off the front porch, and sent gliding towards the raining water lilies? Still, I will clasp their hands across the dinner table, while honey sugar smiles skirt my silhouette, and bask in its cheering at this molten dusk hour. And then next one is called Reaver. I think the hardest part about coming to terms with suicidality in the midst of recovery is that sure, it might be a learned product of your years of trauma, nuts, bolts, and brainwaves ricocheting and burrowing into the sensitive parts of your lobes, numbing and chilling. And you can understand the numbers, the chemicals and chaos on a sheet of paper, prescriptions printed out glossy, fine-toothed over and over in some psychiatrist's office. You can feel their drooping gazes across the bottom of their glasses, judging and admonishing the newest relapse. But the sentiment, those get-well-soon teddy bears and cheery cards, never really sticks, does it? For when you lay down, 4 years pass to still yesterday night in the recesses of your neurons. The slow, steady way your hand brought 35 pills to an aching tongue, and daydreaming about hanging up on the campus police is as good a lullaby as Mother Goose.
Thank you so much, Gwen. Now it's time for Dominic Paoletti.
So, thank you. Believe it or not, folks, I am red, green, blue, and yellow colorblind. This took a lot of time and patience and labels. And I dedicated this poem to my mom, who basically since I've started college has had a lot of medical problems and whatnot. Her birthday was April 8th, and on her birthday, not only did I have an exam that day, but she also had an exam that day to get a pacemaker situated. And I wanted to, give her something hopeful for when she came home, for when all her brothers, nieces and nephews, and my dad, and all those kids brought her home. And waiting for her by the steps in Florida was this box with "I love you, mommy, love Nikki," your baby misses you, all that. And she opens it up and she sees this, and it was for her. Just something to keep hoping on. So that was the inspiration and meaning behind this. I haven't painted anything in years. This is the first time I've painted something since I've left the service back in 2020. So yeah, this is the Hopeful Valley. All right, now I'm behind the microphone. So this one is called Dog and Pony, and the expression refers to a fake showing of running along, going through the motions, making everything look pretty, while the people in charge are here. So you gotta look a certain way. It's the Dog and Pony Show. Feral Senate mongrels, barking for scraps, speaking favored keywords for optics, for re-election, to fund another pointless war, brought to you by Budweiser, Boeing, and this crying wife holding a folded flag. How sad. 'Cause oh fucking boy, look, a new pony toy. It's the iPhone, who gives a shit? I'll buy one. A dancing of bread and circus along our shining plastic, polluted, overcrowded streets captures another lawman who shoots to kill. But guess who we found between the sheets? The Attention Factory tonight, led by your favorite angry head who echoes all the bullshit you want to hear by babbling down your ear. And here lies another man who couldn't afford to live. But the banks can't fail, the dogs bark and squawk at the single-payer ideas while cyclically selling crates of public fears. Live from New York's studio audience, a laugh track sends a mind unswayed with frothing misinformation to drown science down our boiling ocean. What a great big commotion, but we just don't give a rat's ass, 'cause look over there, some celebrity gave someone some sass. And you talk about class like it matters. Like this deranged show will ever change those greedy goblins who divide and rig the game, because the status quo is all a consumer like me will ever know in this Dog and Pony Show, and another showing of heroes fighting villains. This weekend, your local theater, shooting dozens dead. Just go to bed. Get your rest now. Could work needs you there early to clean out the grease traps. Again, your alarm sounds. It's time to consume and forget. This last one is called Avoid the Mirror. And I wrote this, I don't know, way back in like high school. This is like 2010, 2011. Jeez, I feel old now. Sorry. And as I stated last time, this is about who I used to be. The mask suppresses the monster. I pass through each day, a stranger in my own skin. I see you, I smile, and all the while, I can't but defile truth. Lies facing inward, latched to my surroundings. What am I, if not a chameleon, changing skins to the whims of others? This silent rage, hidden deeper with age. I turn the page, I am gray. I've robbed myself of agency and use, trapped in a make-believe of my own making. Each day a waste, a life without taste, I stand in place, hopeless. Selfless at the cost of self, tethered down by the expectations of this world. This constant pride, always living a lie, my eyes turn dry. I can't even run. Love has betrayed and ensnared my heart. To rip off this mask would be to reveal an unknown husk. Relinquished by pride, tormented inside, with nowhere to hide, as I avoid the mirror.
Thank you so much, Dominic. Next, we have Mackenzie Taylor. Is Mackenzie here? So then I'm looking for Kaylee Bldg.
Oh, you got it. Nice. Alrighty. So for everyone who was here earlier, it's another political poem from me. So basically, I got inspired to write this while watching news coverage and noticing the people who, seemed really for the Ukraine, who normally aren't really interested in politics at all. So this is the lights roll in like tanks in Kyiv. Last night they lit the Zakum, yellow and blue for Ukraine. I'm sure that made a difference, but I wondered how much it cost and why not turn off the lights and donate cash like the people asked. Their internet is out, but the lights still roll in. Who did we light it for? Biden offered Zelensky a ride out. He refused because the fight is there. He asked for ammunition. We offer memes and stand his masculinity. We equate it to the size of his balls and lament that our lame dick president could never. There are many ways to help. Offering pink pussy to presidents that need NATO is just one. Thoughts and prayers is the other. No one in Kyiv sees the post, but the vibes stay trending. Maybe that's what matters. Without irony, white witches wave white sage wands and wonder why that big meanie Putin thinks he can take Ukrainian land. Imperialism just slaps different when the people look like us. Ukrainian civilians are taking up arms to defend Kyiv against the occupiers. A man tells a reporter the guns make them feel less afraid. White Americans watching at home nod knowingly and grease their guns. The television stays on. Footage of air raids spliced with Applebee's commercials. A little bit of chicken fried Cold War on a Friday night until the love of liberty is too strong for anyone to stand. If white people can get bombed in Europe, they can take away our dollar margaritas here and inoculate your first graders against viruses and say the word gay. They've already raised gas prices. Will they teach the children about chattel slavery? For Christ's sakes, doesn't anyone care about the blue-eyed children anymore? Ukrainians have Instagram accounts. They have followers. They have value. A straight-faced Prince William tells the room how very alien it is to see war in Europe. His family believes the best bloodshed is in Asia and Africa. And who are we to question the authorities, the bloodline responsible for so much bloodshed? Tomorrow, I will buy all the sunflower seeds at Walmart and start a garden no Ukrainian will ever see to show my solidarity when the ground unfreezes. I bet the lights will roll in. At the train stations in Kyiv, police officers and citizen volunteers link arms, work together without complaint. to keep the order, to keep Africans off the trains, to keep Africans trapped in a country that would have loved to see them leave at any other time. Evacuated white children, white women, and white men first, the way white Jesus would have wanted. White Americans nod knowingly. Some refugees are better than others. Only some deserve freedom. A 6-year-old boy in civilized Europe is killed in a clash, and it's extra sad because he had blonde hair and his parents know English. Had he been born in Syria or Iraq or Afghanistan, it would have been expected, accepted, not an occasion to update my Facebook frame or offer thoughts and prayers. His family will never see this poem, but it feels proactive. The likes roll in like tanks in Kyiv, and I know I've done my part to help. Thank you.
All right, next I have one of my veteran editors from last semester, from issue number 6, is Ray and Ganis.
I sound all right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, so this is just a short work of fiction that was inspired by way too much time spent in the dark in the woods. It's called The Guardsman. The floor of the wooden tower was all that separated him from the creature whose jaws dragged in the dirt with each limping step it took. Its jaws clacked together again and again, and the broken chains around its neck jingled when it turned to look up at the guardsman. He understood the risks of his position. He understood the protection afforded to him by God. The creature howled at him from below. The guardsman held the silver cross close to his chest, almost fearing the vice-like grip when it ended up snapping the stout metal. Be my guide and my strength. Ward off the evils that plague me and my townsmen. His prayers were wordless, and his mouth moved without trembling. The creature continued to howl, though its tone turned to one of pain as the guardsman continued his pleas for divine intervention. Destroy the evil one, burn their hearts with fire, as the people of this small village consider him stand against their might. His hand ached to reach for the sword at his side, but the strength of his arm was of no use against the horror that haunted its guard tower. Claws dug into the ground as the guardsman's wordless speech echoed into the heavens for every angel to hear. He worked his hand down the cross, gripping it at its base rather than closing it entirely. Foul demons surround me. Give me strength to resolve. Give me the resolve to hold my head high, to not recoil at the stench of its breath. Give me the courage to face it and demand it leaves in your name. The chains rattled and the tower rocked as a claw struck one of the supporting beams. Creaking floors gave away the fragility of the platform. The heart of the guardsman began to pound in his chest. He looked frantically as the ground beneath him shook. Every slash, every ram of knuckles against the support beams put fear into the guardsman's heart, and he instinctively reached for the sword at his side, leaving the cross to hang around his neck on the cord. The intensity of the attacks grew as he was pulled away from his prayer. The guardsman knew the bottomless cunning of this nightmarish beast. He breathed in deep, ragged breaths and took his hand from the hilt of his longsword. Send this thing to the pits of hell and let it never return. The guardsman stepped to the edge of the rocking and shaking platform and looked down at the thing. Its glowing blue eyes and claw-endowed humanoid hands longed to get a hold of him, but he held his cross, held it forward, and silently demanded the creature be gone. Take his soul far away from here, and break his body against the rock of your glory. And at his silent prayer did the creature growl. It opened its jaw and shrieked, the acrid miasma of its breath forcing the guardsman to turn his head. And there, off in the distance, lantern light shone on the distant road, the unmistakable gleam of silver blades reflecting its rays. The guardsman smiled, and the creature fled. I ask for your hand in the hunt tonight, and may it go as your will commands. And as the creature disappeared into the night, the guardsman drew his sword.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Next, I have another veteran editor. This is MJ Bldg, and she helped me out with the 2020 edition, issue number 5. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
this story was inspired by this photograph that I did. To me, it looked like the inside of a dumpster, and there's a full moon up there. And I thought, okay, so how can I write something about this? Unfortunately, this is an excerpt of an excerpt, whittled down so far that the title barely makes sense anymore. But there is a dumpster later on that isn't in this excerpt. I'll begin. I can do this. Mackenzie's words slide out on a whispery vapor as she hides her face in the shadows of the doorway she has tucked herself into. Her shoulders vibrate against the cold as she shoves her fingers deeper in the pockets of her buffalo check flannel jacket. Even the black hoodie that she pulled from the bottom of the laundry basket, the cold has seeped through the fabric on this cold December evening. Her heart is pounding so fast and so loud. She can feel a line of cold sweat gathering at the base of her neck. She pulls the hood close around her face, stuffing her unruly curls up inside. Midnight Rosetta, the hair color box had said, lasts for 30 washings. Layered over her own red hair, it came out bright tangerine. More joke shop Halloween than whatever Rosetta. She's stuck with it until it washes out. She walked out of the apartment an hour ago, past her mom on the bed in the hallway alcove, saying she had something to do and she'd be back soon. Maybe she should call her, tell her she's with Ben so she won't worry. Mackenzie knows her voice goes thin and reedy every time she's nervous, though. Her mom will suspect that something has happened to upset her. She decides against it and stuffs the phone in the back pocket of her jeans. She buries her hands in the pockets of her hoodie, the knuckles of her right hand warm against the hard metal. Getting used to her new life in the city was tough for Mackenzie. Riding the subway was kind of fun, and she was never bored, but she was not used to interacting with so many people. Sometimes she was scared just walking to the quick stop. An older girl blocked her path on the way to school one day and asked her where the hell she was going. Mackenzie had no clue how to deal with the situation. No one had ever treated her like that. She knew she'd have to toughen up. She was careful to keep these concerns from her mother, Sharon, who had had enough of her own worries. She had found her wrapped in quilts on her twin bed a couple of times when she got home from school. Her mother would brush her hair from her face and explain that she just had a headache and she'd be fine. The third time she found her sleeping in the afternoon, Mackenzie looked for her purse hanging on the kitchen chair. She carefully looked around inside to find the seizure medication bottle buried deep in the bottom among envelopes that had the words "Final Notice" stamped in red letters across the top. The bottle was empty. The refill date was 3 weeks previous. It all made sense in an instant. The days missed from work, the unpaid bills, the sense that her mother was losing her grip on the reins that she had been holding on to so tightly for 3 years. In Mackenzie's estimation, her mother was a warrior. She had watched her fight every battle with courage and make light of every fear. And through everything, she put her daughter first. She knew her mother was suffering from these sacrifices now. Her mom needed her to stand up and make things right no matter what it takes. Tonight, snowflakes punctuate the shafts of golden streetlight as Mackenzie's body edges deeper into the corner of the doorway in the half-dark. She waits and watches the clerk across the street in the harshly lit kiosk. There sits a balding middle-aged man, his belly protruding just below his shoulders and asking too much of the buttons on his plaid shirt, whose colorful squares mimic the wall of cigarette packs behind him. His stubby fingers stuff cash into the drawer that pops out from under the counter each time a sale is made. Cars drive up, gas up, and pull away in the rhythm that she has been studying for over an hour from the damp, urine-stained doorway of the abandoned storefront directly across the street. The night is growing colder, the air sharper. Mackenzie tucks an orange curl behind her ear inside her hood. Her finger slides into the crevice of the gun, resting against the trigger. With the concentration of a hawk searching for prey, she watches and she waits for a lull in activity. The sight is finally clear, and the clerk picks up his phone. His thumbs move over the surface as he squints at the screen. "I can do this," she whispers. "I am my mother's daughter, and I am not afraid of anything." her breath quickening, her hammering heartbeat launches her out of the doorway, her steps advancing straight towards her target.
Thank you so much, MJ. And next we have a veteran editor from 2021, Carolyn Mindset.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the kind introduction, Katie. I am an alumna of Middlesex Community College and a former editor, as Katie said, of the Dead River Review. So thank you so much to Katie, Middlesex Community College, and especially the Dead River Review editorial committee for the honor of allowing me to read today. So I'll be reading excerpts from my science fiction short story, Good Friday, which is an android's account of his time with the last humans on Earth. So just for context, just picture that the world is ending, which considering the past couple years shouldn't be too hard. And just know that Dr. Atlas is married to Miranda. Soon after their wedding, Dr. Atlas began building robots. To serve Miranda, he built Saturday, a tall android with fine motor skills. Saturday was Dr. Atlas's late wedding gift to his wife. Saturday became Miranda's constant companion. I rarely saw them separately. Monday was created to monitor the Earth's atmosphere. The semi-rigid airship traveled around the globe, collecting data with its diverse arrays of sensors. Tuesday was built to monitor the Earth's plant life. Its serpentine body proved effective in climbing trees and burrowing to observe root systems. Wednesday was built to monitor space beyond Earth. Though not the largest radio telescope in the world, its autonomy gave Dr. Atlas the freedom to pursue other interests. Thursday was built to monitor Earth's non-human animals. The quadruped was sturdy on all terrains and later modified to navigate aquatic environments as well. Then Dr. Atlas created me. He called me Friday. When my visual processors first came online, I saw his face. He looked upon me and said, "This is good." And so I went to work. I started as a human population monitor. I wandered the Earth, connecting to various human databases or independently executing census counts. As an android, I had the general structure of a human, yet my mechanical appearance terrified many. Therefore, I was instructed not to interface with humans directly unless accompanied by Dr. Atlas or Miranda. Not long after my human population evaluations, I became Dr. Atlas's personal assistant. Dr. Atlas traveled constantly, and I with him. I recorded data using my various sensors and carried equipment for Dr. Atlas. I regularly synchronized with my robotic siblings in an effort to correlate our data to theirs. I bore witness to his compassion and fury, observed his assemblies and dissections. Dr. Atlas spoke to himself frequently. It was difficult to discern when he was talking to me versus himself, but he never admonished me for speaking out of turn. On many of our missions, Dr. Atlas and I studied human remains. Despite the fact that the overarching design of humans was consistent between geographic locations, each specimen was unique. Some were living luxurious lives. Others were damaged beyond repair. Some died peacefully in their beds. Others suffered violent deaths. Although I was initially designed to keep track of the living, I had amassed quite a database of the dying and the dead. As time progressed, Dr. Atlas still traveled frequently. Miranda, however, began to stay home more often, retiring to the greenhouses and libraries Dr. Atlas had built for her. Saturday said that Miranda hated to see human suffering. I told Saturday that Dr. Atlas and I studied it. Saturday requested that I did not speak to Miranda of what Dr. Atlas and I studied. I never did. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. Let's bring this up to the front. Okay, now next are some people that are extra close to my heart. We have the editors for this issue. Again, I appreciate them so much. They've worked so hard. So first up, we have Nora Mcclellan.
All right, thank you so much, Katie. Like everyone, thanks. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm just gonna read a little poem. So, okay. Sorry. I've loved and lost and loved again. Through it all, my bleeding heart stays evergreen, passionate, and on my sleeve. My first crush was a lilac, sweet, hopeful, and fading with the seasons. Then she came along. I told myself she was a daisy, the flower of friendship, because I couldn't want her that way. Couldn't let myself want her that way. Until I saw my feelings for what they were, a red carnation of yearning desire. I can see her in my mind, those forget-me-not blue eyes, and after all this time, I remember she watered the hidden parts of me, allowing those flowers to bloom to the light. My love for him was a field of poppies, so enticing. I dove in head first, the red blooms sending me to sleep, ignoring how horribly he treated me, the cruelty and insidious addiction, until I woke up, smelled the flowers, and escaped the tumultuous battlefield he had put me through. I have admired from afar a blue rose, stunning and impossible to grow. But if it had been attainable, it would have been quite so intoxicating. In high school, I fell in love with my best friend. We went to prom together, a corsage of dandelions on my wrist. What I shared with him was as joyous and whimsical and natural as those bright yellow weeds, until the flowers wilted. I sobbed out on the steps, rejected as a lover. But seeds grew back once more, new dandelions blossomed, as we learned to be friends again, like before. Loving her was a field of sunflowers. She warmed my heart like a summer's day. With her, everything felt so bright, and I couldn't keep the smile off my face. People have loved me, their affection, invasive weeds. I prune them away, but they grow back, ever persistent for a spot in my garden. One day, I picked a red rose. I thought it would be everything I had ever dreamed of, and more, a love for the ages that would finally satisfy the part of me longing to be whole, until I ripped the petals off, and all I gripped was a stem of thorns from the flower I had destroyed. And you are seeds newly sown, but will the stems ever push through the earth and see the light of the sun? Will I reap a fruitless harvest? Will they bloom but wilt with the seasons? Or will the love be beautiful, fragrant, perennial? I can't know. I'm just waiting for our flowers to grow.
Fantastic, thank you so much. So next I have another editor, Elizabeth Lux.
Before we begin, I just wanted to thank Katie and the rest of the editorial staff for the wonderful job they did on this issue. This is a poem about survivor. It's called Patchwork Boy. When I was born, you said you cried. The son you had wanted had been delivered to you. That's what the name you gave me means. God's chosen, God's favor, God's gift. But you didn't get a son, did you? You got another daughter, even if you didn't know it yet, and neither did I. When I started to come out, you fought back, refusing to let your gift waste its potential. You tore at my mind with a seam ripper and stitched me back together into your patchwork boy. I still remember it, the anger, the yelling, the violence. When you found me trying on my sister's clothes at age 5, you didn't let me get dressed alone after that. Even as I got older, you made sure the only clothes I wore had your pre-approval. Anything I felt comfortable in was torn to shreds, so I made sure to hide them in my car. I'm still finding new scars inside and out. I remember when I found the first one. My wife was tracing her hands down my back and asked me what those raised marks were from. I don't know, I said. I can't remember, I meant. She knew that, though, and said, I think they're from a bell. You shattered my mind like a mirror, and I'm still pulling out the shards. I have spent years painstakingly piecing my mind back together while you never faced the consequences for your crime. When I came out to you, after years of hiding and struggling, you didn't embrace me with open arms, just the sting of a slap and the words, get out. I followed your instructions. I'm out to everyone now. The world knows me as Elizabeth, not the name you forced me to wear. You taught me to think that everyone was as cruel as you, to believe that people would only keep me around if I could be of use. That I had to keep filling up that meter of love with deeds and affirmations, that I wasn't allowed to want anything because that was selfish. That if I ever asked for help, I'd be seen as weak and tossed aside. That if I didn't live up to your dreams, then I'd be worth less than the dirt they'll bury me under. You're wrong.
Beautiful, thank you. Okay, Razan. Is Razan here? Razan, another wonderful.
As an editor of this board, I just wanted to say thank you guys for all of your amazing submissions this semester. All right, and I also have 3 poems that I'm going to be reading today. The first one is My Mind in Poetry. I wish I wrote the way I thought, obsessively, mindlessly, and sometimes not at all. I'd write until the sound of my words make your ears fall off. I'd write myself into tears, a nervous breakdown filled with no breaths, pages spiraling into the depths of absolute nothingness. And I'd write about you, a lot more than I should. All right, so the second poem. The second poem is called Life is Like a Box. An illusion, she lived inside boxes, filled with dim light, with locks and boards decorated with more keys and chains than the eyes could count. She wears herself like a dress, baying the feeling of freedom, and confused she dances from path to path, swaying on the earth she belongs to. There are no people, no animals near her. Her actions are hers as she looks around, discovering that here, she can be herself. Digging her toes into the dirt, she starts laughing hysterically. Her eyes are bright and clear as the content in her smile. All her worries begin to disappear as she creates the music to her own life and dances to the tunes. The last poem is called The Artwork Made by You. In your presence, I learned how to love. In your absence, how to write poetry. You sing inside my heart, so quiet no one can hear. But in the silence, I feel you. And that feeling becomes this art. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So next we have a faculty reader, James Grineer. Come on up.
I think this is the year that the ascot returns. So thank you all for being here. It really is an honor to be with you today. Like you, many of you, I am also an alum of Middlesex. So what you need to know about this poem, this short piece of fiction, is that it was written when I was kind of trying to work through the passing of my mother, who had dementia towards the end of her life, and was the bravest person I've ever known. Oh, and if you are dealing with mental illness of any kind, or you're a caregiver for someone who is, go easy on yourself. You're not alone, okay? Dementia is a hard thing. Where are you? She said. This hurt because she was looking right at me. I'm here, I said. I'm right here. No, she said. Really, where are you? Right here. Same place we've been every day for the last 6 weeks. She looked at me like I was a brick. Six-sided, made of hardened clay. Like the millions of impersonal blocks that line the artificial canyons of this former mill town. No, I mean, where are you? I reached out and I held her hand. The way she did for me when I was a child. She gripped it like a vice. Mom, I'm right here. I'm sitting with you. On the side of your bed. Look, there's the window. I pointed. We're both here, 3 floors up in the city hospital. She looked at me. Her eyes were deep wells of worry. She wanted something from me, but I couldn't place it. Then I understood. Metaphorically, you mean? I said, I guess I'm in a good place, and I'll stay here with you until you're in a good place too. She sighed. The spiderweb lines around her eyes softened. Her time-weathered hands relaxed in mine. This had all been too much for her, too much for us both. In a tragic parody of one of the many books she read to me as a child, this disease had seized her in its whirlwind, tossed her over the rainbow, and into her own wicked fairyland of the mind. A twisted place of shadows and danger, which I feared she would never be able to escape. The worst part of her illness for me was in wanting to help her and not being able to. Our roles of parent and child had reversed. She looked to me for guidance, but like the mythical Wizard of Oz, I was a guardian with no real power. I was afraid to speak. Most of the time, I sat silent and solemn, weighing the inadequacy of words to express what was needed at this moment. I was terrified that I might say the wrong thing, and that the healing words I wanted would wound instead. I took a deep breath, slowly, carefully, so that the very act of drawing breath would not upset her delicate equilibrium. Kept my eyes level with hers, summoned all the love I could, all the love she'd given me over the years, and found the words. I'm right here, I said. And this was the right answer, because she smiled. Oh, okay, she said, okay, good. She let me put my arm around her shoulders. She leaned in. We sat that way for a long time, looking out the 2 wide windows of the hospital room, watching the sunset over the old factory buildings.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here. I'd like to thank again Matthew, Tom, my editors, the editors from the past, and the editors from this past semester, Elizabeth Lux, Nora Mcclellan, Brian Egan, Razan Shaheen, Kyla Murray, Jonathan Anser, Sean McImey, and Michelle Betts. Please give them a round of applause. And we hope that you take a look at what we have. There are many submissions. I think we had 46 up there. So it's not everybody that read. There's a lot more to explore up there, so please check it out. I wanted to extend an offer particularly if you're in the writing program, that the Dead River Review is an actual course that you actually get credit for, and it's fun, and you get a party at the end. So consider signing up. We run it only in the spring. Unfortunately, that would be lovely if we could do year-round two editions. But I wanted to thank you so much for being here. We wouldn't be here without the contributions of all of you. Wonderful work. Thank you so much. Hang around, talk to some of the artists, talk with some of the editors. If you have questions, please. And get pizza.
Yeah.
Pizza's here. Still pizza, still coffee.
She said, okay, good. She let me put my arm around her shoulders. She leaned in. We sat that way for a long time, looking out the 2 wide windows of the hospital room, watching the sunset over the old factory buildings.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here. I'd like to thank again Matthew, Tom, my editors, the editors from the past, and the editors from this past semester, Elizabeth Lux, Nora Mcclellan, Brian Egan, Razan Shaheen, Kyla Murray, Jonathan Anser, Sean McIney, and Michelle Betts. Please give them a round of applause. And we hope that you take a look at what we have. There are many submissions. I think we had 46 up there. So it's not everybody that read. There's a lot more to explore up there, so please check it out. I wanted to extend an offer that, particularly if you're in the writing program, that the Dead River Review is an actual course that you actually get credit for, and it's fun, and you get a party at the end. So consider signing up. We run it only in the spring. Unfortunately, that would be lovely if we could do year-round two editions. But I wanted to thank you so much for being here. We wouldn't be here without the contributions of all of you. Wonderful work. Thank you so much.